Look at this beautiful room, and I don't feel so lonely. I'd like to thank you all for coming out to this really special day, for joining us for this very important purpose, and for sharing in the experience with us. Yeah, whatever. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm David Macklin. For those of you who don't know me, I am a physician who has worked for 20 years plus in the obesity field. And so what I thought we would talk about today is, and this is addressing everyone at home and everyone who is here listening to the previous talks. So let me see if I can organize my mind correctly. What you've heard earlier today, correct me if I'm wrong, is information and advice on physical activity, on things you might do, advice on eating healthily, and advice on treating and managing what you're hearing is a chronic and complex and progressive medical condition called the disease of obesity. But sometimes when we are at obesity conferences and we talk about all the processes that someone living with obesity, things that they can do, it sometimes sounds like a lot of work. There is a fundamental principle in chronic disease management, yet alone managing obesity, where we invite individuals to consider that living with obesity and managing obesity long-term is a ton of work. That's true with all chronic diseases. And it was kind of the industry standard. And then a guy named Evan Foreman and Megan Butrin came along about 8 years later, a group of psychologists that are in the field of the acceptance and commitment-based therapist groups that Dr. Van talks about so much. And they actually added 2 principles to behavioral therapy. So what are these 2 things that they added? Well, one of the keys that they talk about is focusing on the symptom of obesity and appetite dysregulation, and that is not going to be my talk today. But focusing on that in behavioral therapy by pointing out the main symptom that someone struggles with when they struggle with weight, which is a condition of what we call appetite dysregulation. But the other piece, I thought this would be a great place to talk about the second principle that they added. They added a principle called values-based goals and treatment. Huh? Values? How does that help someone lose in a sustainable way more weight? Well, what they said was, back to my earlier point, managing chronic disease is tough and it's a lot of work. But there's this principle in psychology that says humans are capable of work long into the future successfully if it's important to them. Humans are capable of high levels of hard work if it's in the direction of something that's very important to them. This is the big why. You'd like to be at a healthier weight or a lower weight. You'd like to manage obesity. Why? That's what Evan Foreman and Megan Butrin said. They said, okay, let's ask everyone why. And then what did they find? What did people say? Well, I want to be healthy. They added this principle that said, if we can still ask why, we have not arrived at the real value, the real reason that is going to make it important for this, something that is important enough for this person to commit a lifelong work towards. To find the underlying, what we call intrinsic motivation, because again, you heard eating healthily and being active and managing medication. And so it's really interesting to start to have conversations with individuals. It's called values clarification. Today, when you hear about all the things you can do or should do around eating, around activity, around medications, know that there's an exercise that precedes all of that, which is why. And that's called values clarification, and then values reflection in a moment's decision. And it turns out, from the most modern behavioral therapy science, that this becomes a next edge, a next adjunct to succeed at what is very difficult in managing this real and chronic and difficult disease. So thank you very much for your attention.
All these lines on my face getting clearer. The past is gone. Everybody's got their dues to pay. Yeah.
those of you who shared some talent. Maude, I was literally crying for some reason when you hit those notes. You hit my soul. Amazing.
Thank you for participating. Thank you to Obesity Matters for always creating the energy, the spirit, the togetherness, the entertainment.